Let me ask you something, and I want you to really think about this before you answer. How bad do you want it? Not how bad do you think you want it, not how bad you tell your friends you want it, not how bad you post about it on social media at midnight when you're feeling inspired. How bad do you actually genuinely, in the deepest part of your soul, want the life you say you're chasing? Because I'm gonna tell you something right now that most people are never willing to hear. The gap between where you are and where you wanna be is not filled with talent, it's not filled with luck, it's not filled with connections or opportunities or the right circumstances lining up at the right time. That gap is filled with one thing and one thing only, and that thing is pain. Now, before you shut down, before you check out and tell yourself this doesn't apply to you, I want you to stay with me, because what I'm about to share with you has the power to completely rewire the way you see your life. It has the power to transform every setback you've ever experienced into a stepping stone. It has the power to take the very worst moments of your existence and turn them into the greatest fuel you've ever had. But only if you're willing to listen. Only if you're willing to stop running from the truth and start running toward it. Eric Thomas didn't grow up in a mansion. He didn't grow up with parents who sat him down and mapped out his future with color-coded charts and a college savings plan. He grew up in the streets. He was homeless at 15 years old. 15. Think about that for a moment. While some of us were worried about what we were going to wear to school or whether someone we liked actually liked us back, this young man was sleeping in abandoned buildings, scrounging for food, trying to survive day to day with no safety net and no guarantee that tomorrow was even going to come. And here's the thing that gets me every single time I think about his story. He didn't become great in spite of that pain. He became great because of it. He made a decision, not when things got better, but right there in the middle of the worst season of his life, that his pain was going to mean something. That is the first lesson. Pain is not your enemy. Pain is your professor. Pain is the greatest teacher you will ever sit in front of. And unlike the professors who gave you a grade and sent you home, this one teaches you lessons that stick. This one changes the chemistry of who you are. This one takes you apart and puts you back together in a form that is stronger, more focused, more intentional, and more dangerous than you ever were before you went through it. But here's where most people get it wrong. Most people experience pain and immediately ask the question, why is this happening to me? And I understand that question. I do. It is a human question. It comes from a place of real hurt. But that question will keep you stuck. That question is looking backward. That question is searching for blame when what you need to be searching for is direction. The question that changes everything is not why is this happening to me, but what is this preparing me for? Because nothing in your life is random. Nothing you have been through has been wasted. Every single experience, every humiliation, every failure, every relationship that fell apart, every door that slammed in your face, every time someone told you that you weren't good enough or smart enough or ready enough, all of it, every single bit of it was curriculum. It was preparation. It was the universe putting you through training, because where you are trying to go requires a version of you that the comfortable, untested, unchallenged version of yourself could never become. Think about a diamond. You know what a diamond looks like before pressure gets to it? It looks like a dull, ugly rock. There is nothing about a raw diamond in its unformed state that makes you want to pick it up. It doesn't shine. It doesn't catch the light. It doesn't make anyone stop and stare. But apply enough pressure over enough time, and that same dull, unimpressive rock becomes one of the most valuable, most beautiful, most sought after things on the planet. You are that diamond. And the pressure in your life right now, the pressure at work, the pressure in your relationships, the pressure of your finances, the pressure of your health, the pressure of your dreams feeling so far away, that pressure is not breaking you. It is making you. It is cutting away everything that doesn't belong so that the real you, the brilliant you, the you that was always meant to shine can finally emerge. But let me be honest with you about something, because I think too many people hear messages like this and they turn it into a feel-good moment and then go right back to the same patterns they've always had. Transformation is not comfortable. Growth is not a gentle experience. If you want to become something greater than you are right now, you have to be willing to be uncomfortable for extended periods of time. You have to be willing to do the work when no one is watching and no one is clapping and no one is telling you that you're doing great. You have to be willing to show up on the days when everything in you wants to stay down. Because champions are not made in the moments of victory. Champions are made in the moments when they have every legitimate reason to quit and they choose not to. Eric Thomas talks about the man who went to a guru seeking the secret to success. And the guru took him to the ocean and walked him in until the water was up to his chest. And then, without warning, the guru grabbed him and pushed his head under the water. The man fought and struggled and panicked. And just when he thought he was going to lose his life, the guru pulled him back up and asked him one question. What did you want more than anything in that moment? And the man gasped and said, air. I wanted air. And the guru looked at him and said, when you want success as badly as you wanted that air, you will have it. That story changes everything when you really sit with it, because it forces you to ask yourself an uncomfortable question. What are you actually hungry for? Not what do you say you want, not what sounds impressive when you tell it to other people. What are you genuinely, desperately, viscerally hungry for? Because that hunger, that raw, unfiltered, cannot be denied hunger is what separates the people who make it from the people who almost make it. Most people are interested in success. They like the idea of it. They enjoy the fantasy of it. They'll talk about it over dinner and dream about it before they fall asleep. But when the alarm goes off at 5 in the morning, interest hits the snooze button. Interest finds a reason to wait until Monday. Interest gives up when the path gets difficult or boring or longer than expected. Purpose, on the other hand, gets up. Purpose doesn't need a motivational video to get moving. Purpose doesn't need perfect conditions. Purpose doesn't wait for inspiration to strike. Purpose is already on fire from the inside, and no amount of discouragement, no amount of failure, no amount of other people's doubt can extinguish what is burning within you when you have truly found your why. And this is what I want to speak to you about directly, personally, right now in this moment. Your why. Do you know yours? Not the surface answer. Not the automatic response you give when someone asks what your goals are. I'm talking about the deep, personal, sometimes painful reason that you are chasing what you are chasing. Because when Eric Thomas finally found his purpose, it wasn't about money. It wasn't about fame. It wasn't about proving people wrong, although that can be a powerful motivator in the short term. His purpose was rooted in something much deeper. It was rooted in his pain. It was rooted in the young man he used to be, who had no one to speak life into him, no one to tell him that he mattered, no one to show him that his story didn't have to end where it started. And he made a decision that he would spend his life being that voice for others. That purpose, born directly out of his deepest pain, is what drives everything. That is what makes him wake up before the sun rises. That is what keeps him going when the road gets long. That is what makes his words hit differently than anyone else's, because they are not manufactured. They are excavated from real experience, real suffering, and real transformation. Your purpose is in there too. I promise you it is. But you have to be willing to dig for it. You have to be willing to go back into the parts of your story that hurt and ask yourself what they were teaching you. You have to be willing to look at your struggles, not as evidence that you are losing, but as evidence that you are being prepared for something that requires everything you are becoming through the process. The very thing that has broken your heart might be the very thing that qualifies you to heal someone else's. The very area where you have suffered the most might be the very arena in which you are meant to make your greatest contribution. Now let's talk about pressure for a moment, because pressure is something that everyone experiences, but very few people understand. We live in a culture that tells you to reduce pressure, to minimize stress, to protect your peace at all costs. And look, I'm not telling you that rest isn't important or that your mental health doesn't matter, because it absolutely does. But there is a difference between unhealthy stress and the productive pressure that forces you to grow. There is a difference between anxiety that paralyzes you and the kind of pressure that pushes you beyond the limits you thought were fixed. When a rocket is launched into space, the most intense pressure it experiences is not out in the vast open cosmos. It is right at the beginning, right at liftoff, when it is fighting against gravity, when it is working hardest against the force that wants to keep it grounded. That is where the most energy is required. That is where most of the fuel is burned. But if it can push through that initial resistance, if it can hold together through the most intense part of the journey, it breaks through into an entirely different atmosphere. And from there, the trajectory changes forever. You are in your liftoff phase. The pressure you feel right now is not a sign that you are failing. It is a sign that you are fighting. It is a sign that something in you is pushing against the gravity of your old life, your old habits, your old limitations, your old story. And yes, it takes everything you have. And yes, there are moments when you genuinely don't know if you're going to make it through. But you have to trust the process. You have to trust that the resistance is building the strength you need for the altitude you're headed for. Because people who have never been through pressure cannot handle what's waiting at the top. The success itself requires a version of you that only pressure can produce. Stop waiting for life to get easier. Stop waiting for the circumstances to align. Stop waiting for someone to give you permission or validate your vision or tell you that now is the right time. The right time is always right now. Not when you have more money, not when you have more confidence, not when things settle down. Those are the lies that comfort tells you to keep you exactly where you are. Comfort is the enemy of greatness. Everything you have ever wanted is on the other side of the discomfort you keep avoiding. You were not born to be average. Nobody is. But average is what happens when people let pain define them instead of refine them. Average is what happens when people let pressure crush them instead of create them. Average is the result of a life lived in the safe zone, the comfortable zone, the zone where nothing is risked and therefore nothing real is ever gained. You did not come this far through everything you have already survived, everything you have already endured, just to live a life that is smaller than what you were created for. So let me close with this. Wherever you are right now, whatever pain you are sitting in, whatever pressure you are feeling, whatever seems impossible or too far away or too damaged to recover, I need you to hear this. Your story is not over. Your best chapter has not been written yet. And the very thing that has been trying to destroy you might be the very thing that is about to define you. But you have to make a decision right now, not tomorrow, not after things improve. Right now, in the middle of the mess, in the middle of the uncertainty, in the middle of the doubt, you have to decide that you are going to use this. You are going to let this pain teach you. You are going to let this pressure shape you. You are going to let this season, as hard as it is, become the foundation of the greatest version of your life. When you want it as badly as you need air to breathe, nothing and no one will be able to stop you. Not your past, not your circumstances, not the people who didn't believe in you. Not even the version of yourself that is still afraid. The world is waiting for what only you can bring, so stop holding back. Step into the fire. Let the pressure do its work and become everything that your pain was always preparing you to be.